What's up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue, and I had a request by HLJX1, who is subscribed to my channel, and he had requested that I do a lamb stew in a slow cooker. Now, I'm not much of a crock pot kind of a cook, but that's what they're requesting, so that's what I'm going to give them. So anyway, I'm probably going to make it a little bit different than what you've been seeing. Every ingredient I have in here is interchangeable with the vegetable of your choice, but I think that with what I'm using, I really am going to be bringing some really good flavors to this. So let's take a look at what they are. So the ingredients I'm going to be using a leg of lamb. I'm going to cube that up in about 1-inch cubes. I have some carrots here in various colors. I'm going to be using about 3 cloves of garlic. I'll be grating ginger and turmeric. I'm going to be using fresh oregano, fresh rosemary, some Mexican bay leaves. I'm going to be doing about 10 to 15 mushrooms, and the same in Brussels sprouts. I'm also going to be adding cilantro to this as well. A lot of people do, these stews and everything with regular potatoes. I'm going to be using a sweet potato in this. I'm going to be using an orange. We'll get to this later. Onion. And then I have these baby squash and zucchini. We're going to be rolling with that as well. And we're going to be just throwing those in whole. We're going to be throwing the carrots in whole as well. And we're going to be using I'm using some Chianti, but use whatever kind of wine you want. Beer would also work. And I will be adding beef stock, which I don't have here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff prepped up, and then we will get on to making this. Visual here, I have the turmeric grated here. I have my garlic, ginger. One thing I didn't mention, I'm just going to throw a habanero in there whole, just to give it a little bit of heat. Our orange peelings are here. Got the cilantro cut up. Got my oranges sectioned off. Potatoes are diced, sweet potatoes. Onions are chopped, and I have my Brussels sprouts and my mushrooms. Another ingredient that I didn't mention was flour. And so anyway, I got my skillet heating up, and we're going to go ahead and brown the meat before we throw it in the crock pot. Our first step here, even though we're doing this in the crock pot, we do want to get this meat browned off. And I have the meat seasoned with salt and pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and let this brown. It's probably going to take about 5 minutes. This meat right here looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. Now, a little bit later, we're going to be getting back to this pot. I am not wasting all this. I'm not wasting all that juice down there. We're going to be cooking a little bit more in there and adding that to our crock pot down the road, so that's not going to waste. First step in this, I'm just going to go ahead and get this meat in this crock pot. Now all these fresh herbs and everything, and the bay leaf and oregano and everything, I'm just going to throw that in there whole, right like that. Hit it with my beef stock. Now, as far as the orange peel goes, I tried to peel them as long, get as big as I could, because we will be pulling these orange peel out in just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw this whole habanero in there, and just, those 4 are fine. As far as the orange peels go, now, I'm going to get my turmeric, my garlic, and my ginger in there. Squeeze a little bit of that orange juice in there and just throw that whole thing in there. So, just so you kind of know where I'm coming from, this first step right now is just to bring out the flavors. I will be pulling out the orange peels, the rosemary, the habanero. I'll be pulling all that stuff out down the road. Hit it with my wine. gonna get this lid on here, get this crock pot going. I'm gonna have it go for about an hour and a half. And in an hour and a half, I will pull some of this stuff out. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add my harder vegetables like my sweet potatoes. The remaining stuff from when I cooked this lamb down. Now we're gonna go ahead and cook these onions right quick. I'm going to let these go probably for 3-4 minutes, and once they're cooked down we'll kind of take the next step. So these onions are cooked down pretty soft. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with just a little bit of flour just so we can have this kind of thicken up our stew later on. And I'll let this go another couple minutes and I'll shut it off. And now I think it's time for us to start adding some stuff to the crock pot. Okay, let's start pulling some of this stuff out now. And we are about an hour and a half in on this. Alright, so I'm going to leave the habanero in there. And as of right now, the only thing I'm going to add is going to be this sweet potato. And I'll let those get about a 40-minute head start before I start adding the carrots and mushrooms and all the other stuff. Okay, so these sweet potatoes, they've kind of cooked down. Just, you know, they've got about a 35-minute head start. I'm going to go ahead and throw these whole carrots in here. And my Brussels sprouts and mushrooms. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in my cilantro now as well. I still haven't seasoned that. We're going to get to that kind of down the road once these flavors start coming together. I'm going to add just a little bit more water. This is going to kind of cook down a little bit, so I don't want it swimming in it just yet. So that's it for now. I'll go ahead and throw this lid back on it. Let it go another 35-40 minutes or so, then we'll throw in the zucchini and the squash. Here in the home stretch, I'm going to go ahead and add some seasoning to this. I just have an all-purpose seasoning with some sugar. Go ahead and add that in. And this is my onion flour mixture. That's going to help thicken this up a little bit. And then we're just going to add the rest of our vegetables. So our zucchini and our squash. And I will let that go a while. I'll check for tenderness a little bit later. And seasoning as well if we need to add a little bit more seasoning. We are about 5.5 hours in. Like I said, I did leave those vegetables whole in here. I may cut the carrots down a little bit just for presentation purposes and being a little hippie-fied for the taste test. But it wasn't as thick as I wanted it at about 4 hours in, so I did add about 4 tablespoons of flour, 4 tablespoons of oil, and cooked that in a pan for about 5 minutes just to get the flour taste on, and then added it in here just to thicken up this sauce. We're looking like about a gravy right now. Smells incredible. I'm going to pull this back and we're going to see if it tastes as good as it smells. So it's been a long time since I broke out my crock pot. I probably would have done this in the Dutch oven had it not been requested. I hope it gives you an idea of how you can come up with your own. Don't feel like you need to use the ingredients that I have in here. Use whatever you want. Now I'm going to go ahead, dig in here, and see kind of what's up. So I'm going to start off with this Brussels sprout. That's good. Let me start with this baby zucchini. And these vegetables really kind of soaked in that flavor. Now I'm going to start with this baby squash. That's good. Now sweet potato. Now I used a sweet potato in place of just a regular potato, so let's see if this went well. I still like sweet potato better than regular potatoes in these stews. I'm going to go ahead and knock out one of these carrots. Again, I use the whole carrot, so I like that better because if you slice carrots up and have them thin, I think they just become a little bit too mushy as opposed to just having the whole carrot. So there we go on that. And now I'm going to get to this meat. And the lamb tastes like lamb, tastes like you'd expect it to taste. And the mushroom. You know, I think this turned out great. Thanks for the idea, thanks for the suggestion or request. I think it's something that if you haven't made a stew in a while, try knocking one out. It's been quite a while since I've done one in a crock pot, but it's definitely a little bit more convenient than using a Dutch oven and, you know, doing that because it's just cooking a little bit slower. Anyway, I appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.